Well, good morning and happy Thursday, October 8th, 2020. Today, we are going to be discussing being a godly influence, which I think we'll all agree that we would like to be. And it's story time again. We're going through Daniel, the entire chapter one. It's about 21 verses. So let's just go ahead and get it kicked off here. In the third year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, along with some of the vessels of the house of God, and he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasury of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, the chief of his officials, to bring in some of the sons of Israel, including some of the royal family and the nobles, youths in whom was no defect, who were good looking, showing intelligence in every branch of wisdom, endowed with understanding and discerning knowledge, and who had ability for serving in the king's court. And he ordered them to teach them the literature and the language of the Chaldeans. Now, the king appointed for them a daily ration from the king's choice food and from the wine which he drank, and appointed that they should be educated 3 years, at the end of which they were to enter the king's personal service. Now, among them from the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Then the commander of the officials assigned new names to them. Well, isn't that fun? Well, Daniel, he assigned the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. But Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself with the king's choice food or with wine which he drank. So he sought permission from the commander of the officials that he might not defile himself. Now, God granted Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the commander of the officials. And the commander of the officials said to Daniel, I'm afraid of my lord the king, who has appointed your food and your drink. For why should he see your faces looking more haggard than the youths who were your own age? Then you would make me forfeit my head to the king. But Daniel said to the overseer, whom the commander of the officials had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days, and let us be given some vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance be observed in your presence, and the appearance of the youths who are eating the king's choice food, and deal with your servants according to what you see. So he listened to them in this matter and tested them for 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their appearance seemed better, and they were fatter than all the youths who had been eating the king's choice food. So the overseer continued to withhold their choice food and the wine they were to drink, and kept giving them vegetables. As for these four youths, God gave them knowledge and intelligence in every branch of literature and wisdom. Daniel even understood all kinds of visions and dreams. Then at the end of days, when which the king had specified for presenting them, the commander of the officials presented them before Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and out of out of them all, not one was found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they entered the king's personal service. As for every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king consulted them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and conjurers who were all in his realm. And Daniel continued until the first year of Cyrus the king. Okay. Well, and that's just the first chapter of Daniel. I mean, Daniel is full of great, great stories. So, if you haven't read all of Daniel, I would really recommend taking the time out to read it, because there's some really, really good stories in Daniel. Now we're going to go back to just a couple of verses. I'm going to go back up here to verse 8 for you, and we're just going to hit on the first part of it where it says, "But Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself." And this is really important, because godly obedience begins with an absolute commitment, honoring God above all else. And that's what Daniel did by not wanting to eat the choice food. Because when we make up our mind to put God first, then the particular temptation or challenge cannot control us. And I think that's a very important point, because whenever you plan on doing something, and it doesn't matter if it's what it is, you always, if it's good, you're going to have to consider the fact that there's going to be some type of temptation to lure you away from that. There just seems to always be. There's always going to be an obstacle or a problem, and you don't want to. I always talk about the law of attraction. You don't want to be negative about it, but you want to be proactive about it. So just be prepared for those temptations, and be prepared for those challenges, so they don't throw you, out of kilter, and throw you off your course. So again, it's not to be negative that, oh, well, something bad's going to happen. No, just be prepared for it, because anything that you're doing in God's will, I can guarantee there's probably going to be some little obstacle pop up from who, to keep you from doing God's will. And let's go on down here to to verse 17 as well. I'm going to pop that up so you can read it. And we're going to go in probably towards the first of it here. God gave them knowledge and intelligence in every branch of literature and wisdom. Daniel even understood all kinds of visions and dreams. And God has the power, wisdom, and resolve to equip you fully for whatever task or position He wants you to tackle. And that's why it's important to really uh, resign yourself to God's will and say, God, is this really what you want me to do? Because then you have full confidence. Because when we will never fail in a God-given task, because God failed to give you what you needed. He's never going to fail to give you what you needed in a God-given task. So go back and read this, and read a little bit more of Daniel, and kind of get that context of, if you know that it's something you discussed in prayer, and you know that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're not going to fail, because God's going to be there with you, because God's in the plan with you. Okay, well, let's get into the devotional today. Uh, you don't have to be a prominent in the world's eyes to be an influential person. I think we all realize that. Through your example and testimony, you can help others understand who Jesus Christ is and what it looks like to live for Him. Now, Scripture includes many examples of righteous men and women who were influential in their generation. One of them was Daniel, who was a godly influence not only on his friends, but also on kings. And even as a youth, because he was drawn in uh, to service very early, at the age of 16, he was committed to obeying God's law. And consequently, when Daniel was offered food from the Babylonian king's table, he requested vegetarian meals instead, to comply with the Jewish dietary restrictions. And his commitment to the Lord outweighed any fear of reprisal for rejecting the royal provisions. And God protected Daniel by giving him favor with his overseer. Although most of us won't have an opportunity to influence global leaders, our example can impact our workplace, our neighborhood, home, or future generations. As was true of Daniel, a godly example is rooted in obedience to Scripture, because it's the source of wisdom. In a world that is tossed about by upheaval, fear, and uncertainty, our confidence in the Lord stands out and influences those around us. And that's another great segue into the Bible in 1 year. You have got to know uh, what you're supposed to do if you're going to do it. I mean, how are you going to do something without instructions? Us men, we do that all the time. We go out and do something, and then when we mess it up or we can't get it right, then we pull out the instructions. Pull out the instructions first. Bible in 1 year. Let's get it going. Let's read what's in there, and then we'll have the instructions, and we'll know what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to act. Now, we've made it up to Matthew 16 through 18 tonight. So hop in there and get that taken care of today. If you haven't started Bible in 1 year, never a better day to do it than today. Let's go. Let's get it started and get in there. Well, all right. Well, that's it for Thursday. Tomorrow, what is it? Thursday, Wednesday, Friday. Oh my goodness, we got another Friday coming up tomorrow. Always an exciting time of the week to get things wrapped up and look back and see all the great things you did this week. So looking forward to Friday. But hey, it's still Thursday, so let's keep it rolling. Let's get it going and be sure that we end up the week great. Anyway, that's it for me today, and I will see you tomorrow on Friday. But until then, remember just to relax. God is in control. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.